streaming. So rather than recording, because we can record if we want to. We can just record and not stream. But
I see, yeah.
But I prefer just to get it out there.
Okay.
Ha cha 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 cha. I'm gonna wait until I see the ha cha 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 just because I did that. There we go. All right. So, hello everyone. Chris.
Steven.
All right. We are in New York City. I'm having coffee. It is mostly not Dunkin' Donuts coffee now. I've jammed this up with espresso, but there's cream in here, so I'm fine.
That's some rooibos tea. Is that how you say it? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
He knows better than me because I have no idea what that is.
I never drank it much. It's ROOIBOS. I only got into it recently, but caffeine free. Try not to have too much caffeine late in the day.
Everyone thinks I'm either really classy or really trashy, and they're both right.
Depends on the time and situation, right?
Class is let's say, what do they call it? Subjective value theory in practice, and that's it really is.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's why the different classes of different cultures are different.
Mm-hmm.
But we were just talking about, and this is actually interesting. I think we can talk about a lot of issues, social issues through this. We were just talking about quote unquote fat phobia. And we could go in many directions with
I was going to say the body positivity movement in general.
That's the best way to say it. And anyway, why not you go?
Well, so the reason I shared that Cosmopolitan cover, I forget the model's name, but it was the whole healthy, this is healthy, or healthy at any size or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, most people agree with my take. I completely oppose the body positivity movement, at least in its current form.
Right.
But because what a lot of people forget is originally body positivity was, I lost 2 of my limbs, I have prosthetic legs, but I'm still in great shape. I'm scarred, but I still got in shape. I still lost weight. Like celebrating actual accomplishments in spite of adversity. But then, unfortunately, it just became
just being fine with things that there's nothing you can do anything about, at all, and being like, well, that's a human being. I love that person, or we have at least as much love as we have for any human being for that person because.
But then it became, I let myself go. I'm proud of it. You're supposed to celebrate me. And one of the issues that I had too, and I said this at my comments at the top, is that there's no body positivity movement for men. Now, I could lose a little bit of weight now.
You have a point.
The thing is, I could lose a little bit of weight now, and I've been heavier in the past. But but it shows the double standard. It's like a woman can balloon up to 300 pounds, be put on Cosmopolitan. We're told she's supposed to be beautiful. She's a BBW, big beautiful woman. All this,
but women don't even tolerate that idea.
But the thing is,
they would never. Anyway, sorry. Where do you? They're not tolerant of people that aren't attractive. That's not what I'm saying.
But my point is, where do you see that? But my point is, where do you see that with men? Like, there's no magazine. There's no you don't see Men's Health with an obese man in a Speedo on the cover or something.
Right, and to the degree men are accepted like that, they're accepted like that because they're, and anyway, no disrespect to anyone, but if you watch, let's say, I'm talking about sitcom stereotypes, okay? And there's the fat father, he's a dimwit.
Yeah.
You can point in any direction.
Peter Griffin, Homer Simpson.
And they're funny, the honeymooners, all that. I don't dislike the show or the stereotype completely in terms of, but it is a caricature, and it's not body positive. So in the pop culture, it's already anyway, and we know this. We put men are the soldiers, let's say. Men will take the criticism or the attack or the offense, where women don't, and that's fine. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a Homer system, or I'd be Homer Simpson, or I'd be happier if Marge was an oaf.
Yeah.
I like The Simpsons, honestly. I don't know if it should still be on, but I like it for what it is.
Yeah.
But he's right, clearly that's not positive to be like Homer Simpson, right? It's positive because he's a family man and we love Homer Simpson and his family loves him, but Homer Simpson's in a bad way because he's overworked and society
drinks all the time, and
society's screwing him a little bit. Mr. Burns is screwing him a little bit, and Yeah.
Well, the point I was going to make too is someone wrote in the comments about like you're saying it's not celebrated with men. It's like what's the dad bod? But the dad bod, I would make the point that again, it's not featured on magazine covers. They say it's actually promoted by a lot of food companies because I think I had talked to you about this earlier. Because it was the idea was we're trying to normalize men overeating and being heavy to sell more of our products, so we're trying to present this as an acceptable thing.
I guess that is the male equivalent, the dad bod.
But again, they're not putting these men on magazines and saying this is beautiful, you should get with this guy. Like, you know.
It's also the accomplishment of dad bod. They're not saying woman bod or anything. No. Don't get me wrong. Again, I think the body positive movement was partially created for, say, women with stretch marks or something like that.
Yeah, scars.
Scars, exactly. Yeah. Like, so there's validation to it, but I think it gets invalid when it comes to the point where you can't tell people, okay, being overweight is unhealthy. That doesn't mean I'm a scientist or doctor and I can tell off the bat everyone who's overweight and where they should be. Like,
but when we know obesity is a killer. I mean, heart disease is the number one killer. I mean, cancer is up there. We know the heavier you are, you're more likely to be at risk for that. Actually, it was Megan who said that to me originally. A lot of fat stored around the visceral fat stored around the organs. That's really bad. Like, you need some obviously, but if it builds up a lot, that's really bad for your body. And I mean, there's no, like, again, we can debate like what should your body fat percentage be, but there's no science saying that being morbidly obese is good for you. I mean, joints, heart, everything. Like, there's no case for that.
You're right about that. That's a fact. What was I going to say? I was going to say, meanwhile, there are people who are legitimately already attracted to people like that, and there's no lying necessary.
Yeah.
Like, there's whole like not telling you to do that, but we all got our tastes, right? And if you've ever like gone through the freaking menu on the Google machine on some of those websites, you'll see
BBW. Yeah.
There's really no group of people that there isn't someone like, I've hit the jackpot, like hidden in the fucking back, and they just don't share everything with you because why the fuck should they? God bless them. What am I trying to say? You know.
Well, the issue for me too was it's the double standard. The example I bring up a lot, and if you listen to Kevin Samuels, he brings this up all the time. Lizzo, you know, the rapper. For those who don't know, 300-something pounds. She made a move on Chris Evans, who played Captain America, and he had to be all nice and like politely like decline all this and everything. But the point they're making is that
I'd be nice and politely decline.
But the point is, the point is, some people were harsh on him, like, oh, he's shallow, whatever, and it's like, well. This good-looking in
Get
shape.
over it.
this good-looking in shape guy who's rich, who can get all these women. Why is he going to go for an obese woman? But they're also making the point that if you look at women like Lizzo, they don't want obese men. They want men that are good-looking and in shape.
You got a point.
But the point is, but it's like, why is it okay for a woman
or something?
But that's a trend through the body positivity thing in general. And then it's like, why is it okay for certain women to balloon up, and then they still have to have good-looking in shape guys? But then if guys turn them down, they're shallow.
Well, You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And meanwhile, it's directed at people who, like I'm saying, so. There's people who are interested in that.
Yeah.
You know, because that is not the other thing.
Yeah.
It's what it is, you know. There's people who will go farther with it, who want to feed you in bed and shit. Like, I don't know. But
the thing is, there are a bunch of women who have been documented saying who are obese, and they're like, I will not date a big guy. But then it's like,
that's up to them. But
it's up to them. But then is it fair? Because they said, Samuels and others make the point. Flip, like, let's say an average morbidly obese guy
have a whole society, kind of in that. What do they call it? Tilted in that direction.
But if an obese,
that's not healthy.
If an obese, like,
already unhealthy.
If an obese guy who made, like, let's say moderate income made a move on like a supermodel and got turned down, nobody would feel bad. They'd be like, well, she has all these options, why is she going to pick him? But then if Evans turns down Lizzo or someone, it's, oh, he's shallow, and it's like, why is there this double standard?
Like, exactly. Like, so I do think that people who are legitimately into that, I think that they should feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
But then, and why do I say this automatically? Not that I've even ever met anyone that was like, 100% like that. Like, I like I'm a little chubby or whatever. Like, I guess because I'm a human being or whatever. But
Yeah.
what am I saying? I'm saying that so women have told me personally, and I'm not particularly wide around the core man.
I am a bit, but I'm trying to, you know.
And I'm saying women have told me that they prefer that.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's because they're used to it or
Yeah.
not, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying that's something that I've seen since high school, and you know. So I'm saying that to a degree, there's a degree to which that it can be like a liberating force. Like, yeah, you should be allowed to say whatever you're into, and women are going to be into older men, and men are going to be into women with curves, and there's a degree to which, you know, like, exactly, like, believe it or not, all of this shit with skinny women in magazines, this all started with some chick that was super skinny, and it had something to do with war socialism, basically, you know, and all this and all that, and I'm not, like, I'm woke on that shit, actually, like, I care about women and their psychology, believe it or not, and that's fucking how we got here, where it's like, so the feminists are completely out of their fucking minds. We had like 10 years of like kind of like normalcy called the 90s. And then everything after the fucking 90s, it was like they just can't be normal. Everything's got to be like a social struggle between one demographic or another, whether it be gender, race, or like, and when it's going well, they fuck it up, and you'll hear the stars tell you, it was going great, and then they fucked it up. You can hear Chappelle say it, you can hear all of them, like Rosie O'Donnell say it, like what's his name, Tiger Blood, all of them, and they blame them. They blame them, but then create what they made. Yeah. They said you fucked it up. I believe them. You can't recreate that shit. And you're here trying to make bullshit, pulling it out your ass and lying to people about history, about things people say in front of them, about... Anyways, sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, I remember as a kid learning about, like, anorexia, bulimia, and all that stuff, and, like, and the thing is, like, I get their argument, like, okay, women were pressured to being thin, and there were women who starved themselves because they don't want to be seen as fat. Yeah, those are legitimate concerns, but it's a case of the pendulum swung in one direction, then it swung so far the other way, and then it went from, oh, let's pressure women to be super thin, so women are starving themselves or throwing up, but then it went to, oh, let yourself go, you're beautiful no matter what. And it's like, that's not, like, there has to be some middle ground here.
And what it is they don't want to, like, point out the fact that the problem with that person, don't get me wrong, and I've actually been with people with, what's it called?
Anorexia or
when you throw bulimia, and I, like, got them out of it. Thank you, Jesus Christ, and I hope they never went back. What I'm trying to say is, and it's like addiction for them. Oddly.
Well, because my thing is too, is like, again, I've been heavy, I could lose a little now, and I've been made fun of, so I don't believe in bullying people for it, but at the same time, it shouldn't be celebrated as some beautiful thing that, because then these same women complain they can't get guys, but because they're being lied to and told, oh, this is beautiful no matter what, but then the men don't find it attractive, and it's, hey, how come I can't meet guys? And it's like, we have to be honest about this stuff and say, like, yeah, you can do this, but you're going to have health issues, you're not going to be as attractive, like, that's how it is.
The problem with that is that you care so much about what other people think, you're willing to vomit up, and then what if somebody decides, like, and then the next day to decide, like, oh, fat is attractive, and then you start jamming peanut butter down your throat, like, really, you don't eat to enjoy food? Like, that's honestly my whole, like, and I diet constantly by avoiding sugar, let's say, because I've learned that I have a highly addictive personality. I'm always drinking my coffee, always doing other things that are varying levels of legality, and thank you, Stephen, for dealing with me. But what am I? Right, but see, so I have to avoid sugar, but I still try to enjoy my food. So I still end up having sugar on the side. So there's some variation. What am I trying to say? So
well, it's acknowledging certain trade-offs. Like, it's the same thing with me. Like, the fortunate thing with me is, I mean, like, I don't have a big sweet tooth. Like, I like going to restaurants and having nice desserts, like the one I had the other day, like the Tato Citron, like it's like a nice lemon meringue. Yeah, it's a nice lemon meringue pie, like things like that.
I would just call that a lemon meringue pie. Sorry.
Well, Tato Citron.
tarte au citron.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So like for example, I had a little bit of a donut earlier, but it's like I don't buy donuts or cookies and just snack on them. Like I'll have sugar if it's like a nice or creative dessert or something, but it's like I don't have that sugar to snack on. For me, it's cutting back on drinking because it's a lot of extra calories. And I was saying to Chris before this, there was a very good article, I can dig it up for those interested, how I think they said alcohol inhibits your weight loss in like 8 different ways or something. Because they said your liver focuses on breaking down alcohol, not your fat stores, so that any extra calories you have just, go to your gut. The extra calories themselves. For men, alcohol decreases testosterone and increases estrogen, so that makes it harder to burn fat. It messes with your sleep. Messing with your sleep, of course, that you don't burn fat as well. You tend to overeat when you drink, and there were a few others as well. That's just off the top of my head. So it's like I have to watch it as well because I love my wine and cocktails and whatever. But it's like
I love myself some wine and
but that's a big part of the issue for me because I was also saying to Chris as well that working in restaurants, it's a challenge. You get out of work late, you drink to socialize, but then what do you eat when you drink, but you don't eat healthy stuff, so it's all these extra calories, plus the effects I just described, so it's like that's how you put on weight, especially if you do that regularly for weeks, months, years on end,
I've stopped smoking cigarettes and watched my skin change, there's effects to what you're ingesting, and they're visible.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. And it's like, it's like drinking. I can't say that I've had... Yeah, a little bit, actually. Yeah, there's a degree to which when you're drinking, like constantly, you kind of feel your skin droop, right?
Yeah.
But that might actually be the weight that you're talking about that's having trouble merging with the system completely.
Well, the other thing, too, is I mentioned to Chris as well, was affecting my sleep because... What happens to me is if I drink a lot later in the day, it's this weird thing where like, I have a pretty high tolerance by now, but what will happen is I'll go home, I'll fall asleep and I'll wake up and then I'll just be up all night and then I try to sleep again, but then like, by the time I finally fall asleep, I get a little bit of sleep and I wake up feeling tired still. And there was something about how alcohol interferes with your sleep cycle. Like apparently 1 glass of wine before bed helps, but more than that, it messes with it. And I try to get in the habit of not only cutting back, but also eating earlier. And then what happens is I try to go to sleep around midnight or 1 or a little before. And I found that I've gotten in a pretty good routine where I fall asleep like 1 something, I wake up at 9, but I get the solid 8 hours straight, so I go into deep sleep. Mm-hmm. So I wake up feeling rested, and it's not that like waking up, and then like
that's great.
Well, I forget what it's called, but basically it's like the different like deep sleep, REM, whatever all that is, and like if you drink a lot, you don't hit that deep sleep, and that's why you feel tired. Whereas if you don't have food, don't have stuff late at night, you fall asleep on a mostly empty stomach, you go into deep sleep, and then you wake up feeling good.
That makes so much sense.
But otherwise, it's like you get that sort of shallow, restless sleep, and that's why when I live like this, I wake up feeling tired the next day because it's not real sleep.
Are you aware that potheads don't dream?
I didn't know that.
So potheads are constantly like, so you've got a gland, they call it, you've probably heard of it a billion times because you've probably listened to New Age nonsense people.
Pineal gland.
The pineal gland, right? But that's where the DMT comes out, and that's how you dream, the DMT.
Sure.
So when you're, the head high in cannabis is DMT, so the THC helps your body metabolize DMT. And when you're doing it a lot, when you're constantly doing it, it basically makes it so you're constantly wasting it, and your body, your brain basically becomes it gets this tolerance. So you end up going to sleep and you like never fucking dream. And then when you like run out and you're out for 24 hours, you'll go to sleep and all of a sudden you're dreaming and you haven't dreamt in like months or years. And it's like, oh my God, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's usually a dream. It's the normal. Anyway, but now you know, that's not that bad. Vaguely legal illegal. It was like I was just plants.
Yeah, but like I said, for me, that's the drinking is the thing. Because again, I love my wine. I've cut back on beer a lot. Like I love the taste of beer, but it's just the calories. And I even feel bloated if I drink a lot of it because it's like really high in carbs and all that.
You're not ready for the dad bod yet.
No.
The beer will create the dad bod.
Well,
I feel like it should be called the beer bod.
When I saw you in September, actually, I was more like that, and I've lost weight because I was about 233 or so. Now I'm like 220s. I got a little ways to go. I do fluctuate a little, but that was a big part of it. I was drinking
Thanks
beer.
for sharing this all with us, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Because, you know, anyway. Just
but that's the thing. I was drinking beer regularly, plus more calories in general, and that's when I realized like I have to rein things in because it's just like calories I don't need. All the stuff I just talked about like sleep, extra calories, feeling dehydrated, like all this stuff is just like it's no good.
I have
it's
to
like,
work on my hydration. I'm too into this right now. Sorry, continue.
Well, because one of our friends was saying too that the reason a lot of people overeat is mood maintenance, like a lot of other habits, and that's a challenge that I've had as well. And I find if I exercise, or I'm busy or whatever, I'm happy or so. It's like, and then I'm like, wait, why am I eating all this? And I was saying. Also, that's why I love like the tapas place I went to. I used to go on my own. I took Christine there, and that's why I like that style of food because you eat bite-sized portions, and if you're hungry, you get more, but you can cut yourself off too. And my challenge is some of these portions are huge, and I feel like I have to finish them because I don't want to waste it. But then that's how you put on weight. So it's I take it home and divide it up or something because it's like I don't want to waste it, but if I just stuff myself, it's like that's how you get extra calories too.
Yeah. Well, my metabolism is really quick, and I guess the most unattractive thing that's come of that is that when I didn't work out, I would have a beer belly because literally that still happens.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is that as someone who is in many ways an unapologetic heathen, okay, I'm speaking like, okay, as that guy. You can't be like, oh, no one should bother me because I can have as much cake as I want. No one can bother me about that. And also, no one's allowed to say what they think is sexy. You know, no one's allowed to say what pleasures them. You know, but I want, like, that's what he's saying about the men and women thing. That when, if a woman says like, oh, I want him to be 6 feet and six figures, and you know, blue eyes, blonde, 6-pack, blue eyes, blonde hair.
Yeah.
Third Reich. it's perfectly, it's excellent. We made a whole Star Wars trilogy about it. And then you know, and what was her name? The one that hit Finn out of the sky just so he could have no accomplishments. It doesn't matter.
I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name. Yeah.
The potato sack. Then there's a potato sack. I'm supposed to like the potato sack. Oh, that's so romantic. Oh, the potato sack. Anyway, sorry, this is like an inside Star Wars joke.
But the comparison has been made too about like, oh, men shouldn't shame women for their weight, but then if women say I won't date short guys, that's okay. But then I always bring up that like, well, what is it? You know, 12% of men are 6 feet tall. 3% of men are 6'2" and above, and then 1% of men are 6'5" and above, and it's like, you know, I mean, there are biological reasons women want tall men, and that's okay. But the point is, it's like you're talking about a handful of the population. 1 and 2, it's like people can lose weight. People can't do anything about height. When I bring up weight, they always say, well, what about people with thyroid issues and other things? It's like, yeah, those people exist, but I think thyroid issues, they said it's like 6% of obese people or something. And it's like most of these people who are obese don't have some issue keeping them from losing weight. Yeah, they exist, but
they do have the issues, and the big way to stop the issue is you stop eating some of the things that you're eating that are creating the chemical imbalances that, like, I hate to fucking, like, yeah, they do, and you stop eating. Like, I'm sorry, you drink water and you stand still for a little while. In fact, sorry.
But there are people with like hypothyroidism where their thyroid doesn't work, so they get like something like that. Fine, okay, those people, no matter what, it's a struggle, but that's not like they make it sound like that's most obese
and
people.
That's not. Well, I'm saying even that's a chemical thing that I learned. Like, okay, that's why I have less sugar. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, again, I'm very lucky when it comes to certain things. But then there's no way that poison isn't going to poison you. There's no way that fat's not going to make you fat. There's no way, like, see, and I don't necessarily get fat. I get high blood pressure. That's a fact. I almost got diabetes at one point. Yeah, and I didn't look like I was I wasn't fat. Yeah, you know,
the way your body processes.
Right, like I was never in any danger of being quote unquote shamed. Honestly, in terms of that, and my whole thing is like exactly. So that's dangerous for me. Yeah. That's dangerous for me because nobody notices the problems that I have, and I end up in danger that if all I care about is what other people think about how healthy I am and how I look, I run the danger of running right off the cliff of my heathenism, legit.
Yeah.
Like, or hedonism, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Hedonism?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
No, you're saying heathenism.
Yeah, well, both. It's the same for me. That's how I do it. All right. But what am I saying? I'm saying, so to me, and I don't want to be that condescending, but it's like, okay, I don't have a problem with kind of shaming kids when they're your own kids into doing certain things.
Yeah.
But we're doing this with adults, and instead of going like, oh, we shouldn't shame people out of doing things or into things, it should be about science and health, it's like, no, let's shame people out of this and into this. Like, not, oh, we should progress past this passive-aggressive, opinion-based vanity nonsense that I've had to in order to maintain my fucking health regimen at all, No, it's let's just treat these people who can't control themselves like they are equal or superior to people with discipline.
Yeah.
That's not true.
But it's also too, and the reason I talk about the male versus women things, I think it's ultimately very destructive for women because, like I say, if these women are told beautiful at any size, whatever, and then they balloon up, and then men aren't interested in them. And the thing is, not all men are going to go up to them and be like, "You're too heavy." They're not going to say that. They're just not going to be interested. But then, or the other thing that a lot of us have noticed is that some of those men will sleep with them, but they're not committing to them. They're not marrying them. All this, and then time passes, and it's like, yeah, you've been through all these guys, but it's like they're not keeping around, and then they wonder, hey, how come I can't find a good guy? But there isn't that honest conversation. Whereas with men, we'll get turned down and we'll say, okay, are there things I have to work on? Maybe she's not compatible, maybe, but it's like there's more of that introspection and sort of that let's correct course a little bit and figure it out versus, or it's like the other thing I've said is certain women with entitlement issues, like they're told, yeah, you can trash men, yeah, all this, it's okay.
They're so anti-objectivity, they validated the bully.
Yeah.
That goes, oh, you're fat, ha ha ha. Because they made it so not even the fucking teacher will mention it, or the parent, or the concerned friend.
Yeah.
Like, no one, you're not allowed, so only the asshole can tell the truth now.
Yeah. But you hit the nail on the head when you said about the objectivity thing, because the thing is, if you talk about, because the thing is, again, people get mad when they say this, but it's like, women will rate men's looks all the time, but then if you talk about women being better looking than other women, it's, they fall back on, oh, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, all that. And the thing is, like, one, that's not entirely true. I mean, like, again, Samuels, because Samuels talks about this as well, because he's a professional image consultant, so he has to, like, certain photos, how do people look, all this, and he explained to this one woman, like, if you go to a modeling audition, they have a very logical, formulaic way of doing things, like strip down to your underwear, and then it's like they basically pick you apart, like,
people can be the cruelest.
He said he's like, because that's the thing, they'll be like, okay, strip down, they'll be like, you have a blemish here, you need to get rid of this piercing, you need to lose weight, like, and the thing is, people can't take it because you're just being picked apart from head to toe, but if you're going to become a professional model and they have to get the best looking person, well, yeah, they're going to be picky because they have to be. And
Hollywood is monsters. Like, even the best things like, oh, we need to make this guy look a certain way. He's going to be on a poster, and I say that out of sensitivity because I don't like thinking about it with women because, I care how women feel, and it would feel fucked up to me to deconstruct a person like that cares about what you think about how they look. And that's constant every day over there. The people bitching about fat phobia are doing it to look good so that they can criticize people who look worse than them for telling you the truth and helping you. That's why we're talking shit, guys. I'm sorry.
But here's the point he made and I would make as well, is that in the real world, people do the same thing to a degree. It's just the difference in regular life is people don't tell you everything they think. And I mean, I don't think they should either. I don't think we should nitpick people's appearances.
Yeah,
but his point is, certain people, women especially, will think, oh, I'm way up here in terms of looks because they don't have that accurate assessment. Whereas with men, a lot of men, I mean, I don't know your experience, but a lot of men have experiences going for pretty women getting turned down.
Oh, of course.
And then they realize, okay, but they realize I'm not the hottest guy in the room. I can't get whatever woman I want. And then, but at the same time, you do get attention from good looking
women. I don't have that much money, Steve.
But it's like you also get attention from good looking women, and then you kind of realize, like, okay, I'm somewhere in between. Like, I'm not a male model who can get any woman, but at the same time, I'm not horribly unattractive. I'm something in between. But some of these women, you know, because they fall back on the whole subjectivity thing, they think, oh, you know, there's some guy out there that thinks I'm exceptionally hot, and it's like, I mean, again, little subjective things, but it still falls within a certain range. It's the same thing with men.
Yeah, basically the one-sided perspective just creates a lot of room for error if they believe you. And that's really fucked up, because that means you're not supporting them. You're not a good ally.
Yeah.
Like, I get that there's a two-sided argument in your world where it's like, oh, somewhere there's a man trying to tell her that she doesn't deserve him.
Yeah.
And he's an asshole. And it's like, maybe, like, I don't know who I'm talking to. I can tell you for sure, though, that, like he's saying, like, obesity, it kills.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'll admit it, like, there's people out there who are attracted to, like I said, I like round, not round, but round, you know, I need something, you know, and there's people with nothing, it's true, and there's, but obese is unhealthy, and there's people who are into obese. There's no need for this movement. It's propaganda to kill more Americans because they were noticing that they were getting fat and they stopped eating so much around the year 2000.
Yeah.
Okay? And when Americans were the fattest people on earth, they made fun of them, and then when the second they weren't, we just stopped talking about the fattest people on earth, right? Because the point is that they're demoralizing the country that happens to have military and economic hegemony, because they don't like the standards that we make. We make really high standards for human life, okay? And we have the media, the biggest global media, so we've been forcing all these third world dictators all over the world to up their living standards for all their fucking people, because the evil Americans, let their people do it. So now they're trying to get us to eat bugs and be a bunch of fat, homeless retards. I love you.
Be careful using that word. You don't want to get flagged or.
I'm a flag.
I'm not personally offended with you.
I know. I'm sorry. Thank you.
But
I am a flag.
But the point I was going to make. Let's see, what was I going to say? We were talking about. I'm trying to think.
Thank you for dealing with me.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
All of you. Thank you. You too, Stephen. Sorry.
No, there was some point I was going to make just now. Oh yeah. So you and I have talked a lot about this, but like, you know, they always fall back on the whole beauties and the eye of the beholder thing, and I've analogized it to those who know Austrian economics. They always make the case that value is subjective, value is decided by the consumer. But the thing is, these women who think they're super hot and keep falling back on this, they're kind of undermining their own argument in a way. Right. Because the thing is, if we're going with beauty is in the eye of the beholder, well, the same thing, value decided by the consumer. Well, you still have to find a consumer who thinks, you know, but my point is...
Exactly, they're fucking that up. Yeah. Shouldn't you just find the guy who's really into your 800-pound ass?
Yeah.
If you're not going to change that, if you're super proud, automatically, and they're not lying to you and getting you to do something you don't actually want to do and tricking you into, you know, you're a heathen like me and you just live it and you're just like, yeah, I'm going to drink coffee 24 hours.
Hedonist, that could be a tagline. Hedonist.
Nice.
Hedonistic heathen? Yeah, maybe that could be a brand new.
Ray will love it. I'm sorry, Ray. Or maybe not. Sorry.
But what I was going to say is, but to just say that beauty is an eye of the beholder over and over, but to say that about yourself, it's like
find the beholder, dude.
But yeah, exactly. Find the beholder, because it's like it's the equivalent of saying, oh, I'm going to sell my car for whatever price I want, and oh, well, value is decided by the consumer. Okay, is there somebody who thinks your car is worth what you're charging? And then you can keep saying this over and over, but then if nobody comes and buys your car, is the problem just car buyers, the market, everything else, or is it, no, you're just overvaluing it for what it is? So even if we're going with the subjective standards, there still has to be a subject who finds those standards attractive.
Right.
If you just saying, oh, I'm as pretty as I think I am, hey, how come I'm not getting what I want? It's like, there's a disconnect. It's like, well, I should sell this for whatever price I want. Well, every seller is going to go as high as they can. I mean, that's just human nature.
Right.
Every man or woman is going to want a partner who's the most attractive, and you know, maybe has money, whatever, some combination of all those best things. But it's like there isn't somebody like that waiting for everyone. Even if you find them, are they into you? But it's like they're not willing to have that honest.
Which is why having individual taste is actually to your advantage.
Yeah.
You know, and once you have your own, like one of my favorite games ever
Yeah.
is Star Wars Battlefront 1 from like 2001 or some nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It's real old, and it didn't try to be anything super magical and special,
Yeah.
so they didn't fuck anything up, but it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I can play it alone for the rest of my life. Like, not literally, continuously. What I'm trying to say is, I don't need someone's permission to enjoy something.
Yeah.
And it's 3 times, maybe 100 times, maybe millions of times truer than with a significant other.
Yeah.
Like, that is intimacy. Like, that's got nothing to do with what anyone else thinks. If I was gay or into Cherokees or whatever, I'm just referencing Family Guy.
Yeah.
Whatever, in that one, what was it? Unless you're black or gay or
Yeah,
Cherokee.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, because I was talking to my friend Abraham. He was out of the city for a few months, and he came back and we hung out, and he was talking about. He was asking me about Christine, the woman I started seeing, and we were talking about how we have similar values and similar ideas as far as wanting, like, a family, children, all this. I mean, we've only been dating a month. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But my point is.
So you're getting married? No, I'm sorry.
But my point is our goals align as far as what we want out of life and things like that are important. And I think
the diamonds. You want the diamonds.
But that's
Kenya.
kind of what you're getting at is that, like, it's individuated to me to a degree. Like, if I just wanted to go out and sleep around, I would be interested in a different type of woman.
Yeah.
But if I want eventually a family and children, that's going to mean a different type of woman as well. But the thing is, in turn, I have to find a woman who wants the same thing, and so far I have. Again,
that's awesome.
But my point is, it's like, my friend was making the point that it's good to know what you want and have all these standards in advance, because then you can work towards it together. Whereas there are other couples where there's just physical attraction and they kind of figure it out as they go, and that always ends badly. I'm sure you've seen that. I've seen it in my own family too. I mean, again, I won't mention names, but it's like, I know, like, there was a relationship in my family where that fell apart, and other family members were like, we call this in the beginning, because it's just like, you have contradictory goals. It's just physical attraction, and it's like, once that wears off, there's nothing there. But it's like,
that sucks to see from the beginning contradictory goals.
To
watch them try and deny it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell.
In this particular instance, what it was is that
I've seen people without contradictory goals fuck up.
But okay, so here was the relationship to sort of make point of it. So the woman came from, like, a wealthy family. She was kind of a spoiled rich girl type, and, like, she should have married a rich guy who just, like, let her spend money. But she married this guy who didn't have ambition, so he didn't make much money. Oh. So it seemed like a very mismatched thing, because it's like, she wants to spend all the money, he doesn't want to make money.
Aladdin.
Yeah, it's like, but like, how is this going to work long term? It's like if she could start over, what she would, I'm sure she would probably would in retrospect, is find a guy who has money and is like, I want you to stay at home, raise a lot of kids for me. That wouldn't work. But instead, it's marry this guy, and then he's like, I'm lazy, I don't feel like making money. But I want to live well, and it's like, then she gets massively in credit card debt and all this. But that's what I was saying. Other people looked at this from the beginning and were like, this isn't going to work because it's just contradictory goals. Whereas
they could have waited. And he's got no ambitions. That's the issue. That's why I can't be like, poor boy, because even when someone else was relying on the guy, he didn't try. But I'm sorry, I'm commenting on a real human being. But kind of declined to comment on. So I shouldn't have to.
But my own mother gave me that advice too, of like, don't try to get with someone that you're trying to change, because that's when things get bad as well. Like, if it's, I'm attracted to this person physically or some other reason, but I don't like this, but I can change them, and then that never happens, and then
it doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, but that's why things fall apart. Because
they change. People change, but they change where they're going, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, you can see kind of where people are going, kind of, if you know them and you know how circumstances are, sort of. But they don't change into what you want.
But that's a case like this guy, like a guy who's been lazy his whole life. He's not going to suddenly wake up one day and become ambitious unless something.
Well, if he's not, then he's not. Like, that's the thing. So there's ambitious people who waste their lives talking shit about things that you could give them a couple of pushes and maybe they'll accomplish something. Maybe not everything they talk shit about, but there's a lot of people, like wage workers.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know who's listening to me. But 90% of people, the reason why, and that's why I try to inspire people to be entrepreneurs, because you can fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
And what's stopping you is your lack of, basically, they took the key to the car away from you, and someone else in the morning is starting your engine. And you don't have a thing. You have a thing that's saying, oh, I go to work every day because my boss will fire me if I don't, and then I won't. And that's a middleman between you and your responsibility. You can get all that shit done, and you'd be more efficient if you didn't have someone else driving your car for you. So anyway, but what am I trying to say? How did I even get here?
Well, so it was talking about expecting people to change, but the whole point is that if people
Right.
want to change, especially in a positive way,
And
they have to do it on their own.
A lot of women like having, a guy that like to be started up in the morning, and they have someone that they can upkeep all day.
Yeah.
But if he's got no ambition at all, if he wouldn't even be proud to go to work for you, I would say don't bother.
Yeah.
And I guess that is, I don't know if that's just for women, that advice, or if that's for everybody, but I would definitely say, like, in terms of, like, yeah, if a grown-ass man won't go to work for you at all, like not even, that's not a man. Anyway, but I'm terrible.
Well, it comes down to what do men and women want, and what does each bring to the table, and that's the conversation that comes up a lot about how
That's
you
true.
and I
That is
talk-
just my opinion on what men are. To be honest with you, like, I don't actually have a problem with a situation where the woman's making all the money and the man is stay at home, even if he's the stay at home father. I don't actually care. I'm just saying, literally, as a man, if I don't care enough to work so you eat, it means kind of like I hate you. So I wonder.
Well, something that Samuels has brought up a lot too is, like, he asks a lot of these women, like, would you be fine with a guy that makes a certain amount of money throughout his career? And what a lot of these women say is like, well, I'd be fine if he starts that, but I can make him a millionaire or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's just kind of this idea that somehow we're magically going to get rich. There's no, like, plan for it or whatever.
A woman could hypothetically make a millionaire. She'd have to be brilliant, and he'd have to be, like, I don't know, not sabotaging shit all the time. People sabotage shit all the damn time. But sorry, continue.
But this goes back to the previous point of, like, trying to change people, and I think this might be a case of, like, oh, you're physically attracted to someone or something, and you think, oh, you can mold him into what you want to be, and then that doesn't happen, and then things fall apart for that reason, like that relationship I described. Instead of, okay, this is a guy who's rising through the ranks of his company or something, and then down the road is going to be, way up there. But at the same time, it's like you kind of can sort of see the trajectory he's on already, instead of, oh, I'm going to take a guy and make him into what I want.
This is my romanticism in the same way that he was being vulnerable to you by telling you basically his whole diet. It is like, so all of this shit, politics and all that nonsense, that's mind control over, like, poor people. You see, because everyone's got fucking property, and your property is your experience. So the only way they can steal from you, really, is by getting you to give it up yourself. So who's the king and who's the queen? Well, that depends what gender you are, right? So I am the king of me, and that person that I am with, that is my equal, that is my partner, that should be my queen. Does that make sense? So that's my queen. I don't care what anyone else thinks about. Like, so that to me is like the value judgment necessary. Yeah. Now, to me, everyone's lost sight of this shit. And it's like, oh, like you're saying, like, oh, he'll get rich. Yeah. He'll get rich. And it's like, to me, and I could be wrong, and I don't know these people, and I think they can tell by now that I'm not actually judging them, their personalities. I think it sounds like they made some mistakes, and that maybe, anyway, it's not my point. My point is that maybe she was doing that because she thought, like, oh, all you care about is money, and you're just judging people based on how they look. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, that's true that you shouldn't just judge people because of the amount of money they have at the time, and their positions. And it's true, you shouldn't just judge people based on how they look, but you know the guy.
Yeah.
So you knew enough. That's the issue. So maybe they didn't know enough, and you'd love to be able to argue with them, which basically means that that's actually your type. You could have gone out and found. I'm so sorry, but and I'm in the same position. I'm in a very similar position. My type, if my type made fucking sense, I'd be with somebody right now. If my type was like this like sensible woman, oh my god. The sense I would be with. I would anyway, but I'm trying to say that you can just find somebody that they don't look a certain way and they are like that. Like by giving him the chance, this ambitionless person, to act like someone with ambition that would make something of themselves in a way, and I could be wrong, but it's like you're acting like that ambitious person that doesn't have money yet and doesn't look like it doesn't exist. And I know they exist. I actually do, and I'm not saying it's easy to find or easy to judge people inside and out, but I'm saying that's the truth. The truth is that it's not about his outside, like you said, or like you probably were trying to argue about. It was about his inside. But that doesn't mean that they're wrong about his outside, judging his inside. It turns out that this guy had a lack of ambition and had a lack of discipline, and that's why he lacked money. And apparently people could tell. They were like, nope, that guy. And I've already had a conversation about my endless habits. So I'm not speaking as prep student, okay? No disrespect, and I love all types of people. And if you want a free relationship with no monogamy or something, I don't think you're hurting anybody, but I do.
It should be agreed upon in advance. That's kind of and that's what I was saying about my current relationship is that, she was very straightforward with me. Do you want a family eventually? Do you want kids? All this, and it's so we both know we want the same thing. Again, it's too early to tell where's this going to go. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I don't want to make predictions because we don't know for sure. But at the same time, it's okay, we both know we want the same thing, so there's something there that we can build off of instead of just if I had lied and said that, but then I want to go out and fool around, there's going to be a disconnect, and that's going to create problems down the road.
And you do need to say that apparently.
But that's why I'm glad we had those honest conversations. So at least we know we want the same thing, and then it's maybe we'll disagree on little details, but it's not this
But that's
big,
just
it's not
sweetness.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I was going to mention, I probably said this before, it comes up all the time, that whole thing about how a lot of modern women want traditional men, but they don't want to be traditional women. And what I mean by that is...
That's a fact.
And what I mean by that is they want a guy to pay the bills, protect them, all this, but then it's either, I don't want to be a housewife, I don't want to work, or whatever. This is actually a recurring argument I had with one of my female friends, where I basically said, if you're just going to sit at home and spend his money, why is he going to pick you? He can find any young, pretty thing to do that with, and then he can pass her up for someone else when he gets the opportunity.
Young men want attractive women.
Yeah.
Older men want someone to love.
Yeah,
I can tell you that right now. That's all. You don't have to care what we want.
But they want a legacy.
Generally.
If those men who earn a lot of money, all this, it's they're likely marrying because they want a legacy. They want children. They want a wife to help raise those children.
Finding an attractive woman after 2 or 3 kids, like a really attractive woman, that's going to be someone with money probably that took care of themselves surgically somehow.
But if you look at a lot of the
or a super healthy person, I guess.
Well, they're making the point that if you look at a lot of these wives of CEOs and whatever, a lot of them, they're either stay-at-home mothers or they have low-key careers, but because they take care of the house, they take care of the children, they're very supportive of the man and whatever he's doing. That's why he's loyal to her, because she's a great wife, and in return she gets a life of luxury. But at the same time, she's busting her ass, taking care of the kids, staying in shape, looking good for him, making sure the home's orderly. So it's and then if she works, it's a low-key thing that doesn't take all her time.
Right.
But it's if it's just, I want to marry a rich guy so I can sit at home and spend his money. Well, guys with money know that women want them for that. So it's why is he going to marry you if that's all you're going to do? Yeah. This is what I keep saying to my friend. I'm if it's just, oh, I'm going to sit at home and spend his money. Well, why is he going to marry you? He can find women anywhere to do that with. And it's like, you know.
My whole issue with the whole thing is that it seems like, so, okay, and I can engage with it. I can engage with it 100%.
Yeah.
Steven, I can almost guarantee you the way your body is designed, the way your metabolism is, you're supposed to have more fat than me in your body.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And you still gotta diet and stay healthy, and by the end you'll just be a bigger dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's all. Like, you know, there's still going to be a measure of fitness that other people can see.
Yeah.
By the end, because of whatever build that you have, you probably would look more impressive than me in terms of bodybuilding, right?
I used to be pretty big. I'm trying to get back. I would do weights a little bit. I may rejoin the gym. I actually belonged to the gym before COVID, but then that ended and shut down. And I've been kind of wary about going back because I was worried. Well, because I was worried about
I'm right there with you.
I was worried about new restrictions coming in and I'd be shut out. So like,
if you support them before they get rid of those restrictions, you're making a bad move.
Yeah. So it's like I want to. I mean, I think we're getting there, but like when we're out of the woods with all this and it's an endemic and it's not like, oh, we're going to shut down, then I'll say, because then I can go regularly, it's not an issue.
Cool.
But I want to make sure that's set. So I have weights at home, but I don't really like working out at home because it's like I have a small space and it's just like there's only so much I can do with free weights at home. Whereas at least
I need a pull-up bar.
Yeah.
Like anyway.
But at least there it's like
I'll put it up here.
There's the benches, there's the space. Like I don't have to worry about bumping into things. Like it's just there's more machines. Like there's just a lot more. And I think too when I'm in that environment, I'm more focused because like I'm there to do that. Whereas at home, it's like my phone goes off the computer, or like something.
I love working out though, but like eventually you just kind of lie down.
Yeah. But again,
begin to die. Sorry.
but again, in the gym, because you're there for that purpose. It's like you feel like, at least I feel more motivated because it's like, okay, there's fewer distractions. Like I still have my phone and stuff, but it's like, okay, the machines, other people working out. Like I know I'm here for that, and then I can always do other stuff after. So at least like I feel more. I don't know if in the zone is too strong, but I feel more.
Use it.
I feel more focused in general.
It's your show too. You can be strong. Exactly. Like,
and one other thing I was going to add on about relationships. Abraham hit the nail on the head yesterday too. What he said, I think what a lot of women misunderstand is they think, oh, guys just want sex. But he said, no, what a lot of it is that guys want to feel appreciated. And he says, I look at the photos of you and your girlfriend, and he's like, I see a lot of that with you guys, like how she has her arms around you and all this, and it's like, and she cooks for me and all this. And love you, Christine. But that's ultimately what most men want. And I think what a lot of these women don't get is they think, oh, men just want sex because that's that feminist talking point. But then when that's all they offer and guys get bored of them, they wonder why. And it's like, well, if you're not contributing other things to the relationship, what's the point? It's like if he has options, he can just get a younger woman.
And what's funny is, so they have this whole thing like, oh, gender and sex, it's all like a construct, a social construct. And then if you tell them like, hey, guess what? There's psychological underpinnings to why you want to have sex. And so what you're doing is basically like degrading men's need for nurturing, like he's saying, and women's too. From the opposite gender, on every level. Like it just kind of. It pisses them off, and I'll tell you why. Because they want to believe, like you're saying, that they are physically, and I get that from men too. Actually, you might not. It erupts, like it comes out as feminism, but it's not necessarily just feminism. It's this like new social regression, like, oh, I am physically superior. It's the idea of Darwinism, physical Darwinism in practice among humans. I am physically superior, therefore I satisfy this woman because I am alpha. It's sort of like, exactly. So it's biology from the outside in, very low resolution, and sort of looking at it, like kind of looking at it like a program. And real life isn't like that at all. Sorry.
And that was my point. Like for example, like that's what I love about the lady I'm seeing now. Like I mentioned, like cooking and appreciation, all that, and like like depending on like if things were to get serious, like let's say this were to continue again, it's early stages. I don't want to get anyone too excited, but like if she she takes care of the home, she raises the kids, she takes care of meals. I don't mind taking her out to nice meals. I don't mind paying for trips. I don't mind because she's been loyal to and appreciative of me. I'm willing to reward that. But again, if it's like all you have to offer is sex and that's it, and then it's like I'm just going to sit at home and spend your money. It's like, well, why should I? Like, what do I get out of that?
Yeah. And you literally like. It seems that what you're not even asking for. You're asking for, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
And Steven, oh my God, and I don't want to, but you are singling yourself out. All you're talking about is like the bare basics of like a relationship.
Yeah.
Like she appreciates you, she's there for you. Don't get me wrong, there are people that don't get that all the time, and I'm not just singling, that's why I'm talking,
Yeah.
But I'm saying like, wow, it's kind of insane that there's any group of people, whether you call them feminist or whatever you want to call them, that's totally alienated the idea of a loving woman in a relationship. Like, I'm just supposed to be impressed.
Yeah.
Like, they would ever tolerate that.
This one
oh,
show,
I don't like him, and he's a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
Every interaction with him is bad, but I am so impressed.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. Sorry, no disrespect. No one's good enough for that. Unless you're fucking Genghis fucking Khan and you're holding them at fucking gunpoint, you're not gonna get any sex that way. 100%. Maybe sharks do. Sorry.
But these one guys I've listened to, they talked about this as well, how like...
Or kids. Teenagers, because teenagers are fucking monsters. And college people sometimes.
They've talked about how, like, this one guy said how he would date a lot. He would date, going back to the women not wanting to be traditional, he was talking about how he would date these pretty women, and then, like, they would just sit at home all day, and they wouldn't do anything else, and then he'd be like, did you clean up the place? No, I don't do that. Can you cook dinner? No, I don't do that. It's like, you're sitting at home spending my money, and that's it. It's like, and then that goes back to what
I don't even say I don't do that.
But that's what I'm saying. Whereas it's just like certainly, again, I'm not saying all women. Some of women like that, they think, oh, I'm pretty, I offer sex, I should just basically get hooked up for life. And it's like
song. Remember the song? You know which song? You know which song? The WAP.
Oh yeah. Ugh. But again, it's like they're devaluing themselves. Again, if that's all you have, what happens when you get older? He has no reason to be loyal. He'll just pass you up for you because it's the same thing. But
the people saying it, no, they're fucking over young people.
Yeah.
Like they know.
Yeah. But then it's like, but again, if you're like in my example, like I said, if like you're a loyal wife and mother, I'm happy to spend money. I'm happy to protect you because you're more than worth your weight in gold at that point. So it's like,
dude.
I'm more than happy to do those things, but you're adding value to the relationship.
That's sacred. That's why. That's what I mean by sacred. Yeah, your mother is sacred. Like like your wife is sacred.
Yeah.
The mother of your children is sacred.
Yeah.
Your kids are sacred. Like see that. Anyway,
and someone made the point too that if that works out well, there's a real synergy there because on the one hand, the man's providing for the women and children, but at the same time, the woman is helping the man reach new heights because she's motivating him, supporting him, and all that. And
it's not about directly following the archetype. It's about watching people who are completely different, like through nature.
Yeah, synergy.
Compensate.
That's the word.
Synergy. Yeah, that's perfect. Complement one another. Literally compliment one another. Anyway, but exactly. So it's like it shouldn't matter if all of society likes you. That's where I was getting with this. If you like the moment she starts caring what all of society thinks, I would get scared. I would be like, oh, she's looking around because that's what she is. She cares. Like, oh, your neighbor needs to find her attractive. Like, you know what you do? This is now literally advice, but show her off. Show her off either way and show off how fucking... I got women here jealous of women I'm not with and have never been with and have never fucking been with.
I've experienced this too.
Right. Just be like, oh, this amazing, beautiful woman that, I love and am indeed dedicated to, not in a relationship and not... But literally, that's one of my best friends. Like, oh my God. And they're jealous. Oh my God. It's like, you could be friends too. Like, like you could just act like a normal human fucking being and not like we're at a masquerade ball every fucking day where everyone's full of fucking shit. You know, that's how I made friends with this person you're jealous of. But whatever. We're about to be the last minute. Steven.
Well, I was saying that's a disagreement that I've had with certain people, like the whole thing of can men and women be friends, and it's funny because there's a joke with me about, you know, my wives. I explained it in the first video, but my friend always...
Sure, men and women can be slaves. I mean, friends.
Well, my friend always makes the joke, he's like, you friend-zoned all these women, and it's like, that's a joke because the thing is it's usually women who friend-zone men.
Nice.
But I basically said... I disagree. These women and I have agreed directly or indirectly at some point that we're just friends and that's it. Like we just don't have, and like, but again, it goes to what I said initially about if this is agreed upon, who cares? Like it's not like
there are people that can't do that.
I'm not cozying up to them expecting sex. Eventually, it's like no, we realize we wouldn't work together, so we're just friends.
Next episode, we'll talk about rejection because the reason why people can't do that is because they feel uncomfortable rejecting others.
Yeah.
It's odd. Like everyone's used to being rejected,
yeah.
And it's like recently I asked someone, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And I know that there was like a million things read into that.
Yeah.
That was not it.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so I was rejected when I wasn't even really doing that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like, okay, I was rejected. It was like I was rejected and they expected it to be the end of my world or something. And it was like, I wasn't even really rejected. Like, I didn't even know I was on any menus, guys. Like, I've never had a conversation with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. So I don't feel rejected because you don't know me. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's like, but of course I don't give a, like, you don't know me. You know, like, you don't know me. Like, you know, so why, and you should be fucking perfectly comfortable rejecting me. And don't get me wrong, there are dudes out there who are totally fucked up and crazy. And sometimes they say something to somebody and I want to punch them in the face. It's like, of course, you know, they're out doing something. They're busy, you know, if somebody makes time for you. Anyway, next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you should be perfectly comfortable. That's kind of our body positive thing, actually. So next time, we'll get there.
Curious to your thoughts and comments. Thank you for listening.
Like and subscribe. See you next time.